guys, how you doing? It's Saturday morning here. I feel a bit groggy today. I went to the pub last night. I was sensible. I was at home by 10 o'clock, but it was a friend's daughter's 25th, and there was a buffet on. I think I ate too much cheesecake and chicken. So yeah, I'm not feeling the greatest this morning, but I did promise, because I'm leaving the country tomorrow to go away for a week, and we're leaving at like 5 a.m. And this is a little job for a contractor that I promised I would fit in. So yeah, feeling a bit rough, but got to do what you got to do, haven't you? So let's have a look at what we've got going on in here. It's been well bashed about. That used to be plastered. They've pulled rooms about, taken walls down. I can't quite work out what's going on in here. But we've got a bit of everything. Some painted surface, got some new boards, and then we got some dry plaster. Quite a light bit of adhesive for the tiles, still on there. We'll chase the filament. You see the depth of the door frame we've got going on here. Apparently he said to me he's not too worried about us coming out to that, so we probably will go into it. Which will save on plaster. See the different levels we got going up here. But then obviously when you come around to something like this, then you need something to get inside that little channel, so that makes that a bit more difficult, not being able to come out to that depth. In here, it's going to be a little toilet. We don't have to touch the ceiling, but again, bone dry stuff. There's, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, that where the old tiles were, there's silicone, the rubbery sort of adhesive where they've sealed the tiles to the ceiling. That's a real pain. We'll scratch that off as best we can. So yeah, we've got a bit of all sorts going on here. We don't have to do that front wall, radiator staying on. This is all wood. Apparently it's going to put a bit of architrave on there, so it's all good. So yeah, not particularly big, but all sorts of different levels, different surfaces we're going on to, so it makes it a little bit of a tricky one. The electrics are on, and what we tend to do, a little trick, is to put a bit of tape across the front. It holds the screws in, as you can see, and then tape up all, the terminals and stuff where you could possibly be getting an electric shock. I just in here on this one, look at that. I don't think I've seen anything quite like that before. It's almost like a bomb or something. It's very heavy. So what I've done with this one, we've yet to tape it all up. I've taken the screws out and put the screws back in. That's it, it's really, really heavy. And then see that one on the bottom? I've just been able to rest it on that bottom screw there, just to keep it off the wall. But yeah, that's quite unusual, that thing. So we're going to crack on, get this prepped up. We'll put the scrim tape up. And then we're going to PVA over the top of the scrims. We always do it in that order because it actually PVAs the scrims to the wall. If you do it the other way around, you'll have trouble with the scrim sticking to the PVA whilst it's wet. We always use PVA for stuff inside. You can use SBR, and there's grits and stuff like that. So you use whatever you feel comfortable with. So yeah, we're just gonna crack on with this and see how we get on. So when you're prepping up and PVAing and things, it's good to pay attention to what's coming up. What I've just noticed, look at that little return there on the door, top of the door frame on the head. I mean, it's almost the size of my finger, that down to the first knuckle. That's the difference there. So it's like, what's going on there? Being such a stark colour as a plasterer, that will really bug me. This little bit of finger bob here. Just want to record and hold it up at the same time. There's pretty much the straightness of the ceiling. You see how much that's coming away there. There's quite a bit of it. So we are going to see, let me come back here a bit. In the ceiling, I mean ceilings quite often all over the place. So you can see with my finger how much. We'll see if we're going to pull that out a little bit and make that look much nicer to the eye. if I need to, I might put a little bit of a bend in this little bit because the way that the room's designed, that doesn't catch your eye, that little bit there. So I'll be tempted to put the discrepancy, if there is going to be one, on that little line just there. Try and straighten that one up because that's just catches my eye straight away. Okay, we tend to staple up our beads. It's worth buying a decent stapler. This is a Stanley one, you get the Walt ones, it's a very common design. Combined, I find, with 10mm staples, maybe the Stanley ones, they tend to go through the bead a lot easier. If you have the 12 mils, then they tend to crumple up unless you get it in the holes. So after a while, you'll get used to it. I find it's very quick and efficient way of getting your beads up. And I say, the 10mm are a happy medium. Just getting enough purchase. See that one there? It's just buckled up, look, it didn't go through. So, don't worry about it. Just give that a little bit of persuasion with a hammer and just bang it flat. And that's up there quite nice and solid. Good. Okay, returning back to this bit here, I did hold a straight edge up there and kind of give it an average. So I've drawn a line where the plaster really needs to come down to. And that's as well drawn a V on it, so that if you do come down below, it's just easier to see how far you are away from your desired, because once you get this, come down to this line, you can't see it anymore. So I've just scratched down, so you've got a V. And if I'm drawing it through, I just hit the top of those V's. And see if we can make that look much more pleasant to the eyes. So yeah, we just locked up a little bit of stiff gear just to get that going because it's quite heavy and the depth that it needs to be. And we haven't got any bonding, so we just knocked up a bit of stiff finish, like so. And we're going to chuck some in this chase as well. So we'll bring it out. And then we'll push the scrim into the wet gear if it's stiff enough to hold itself. So there we have it. You can see the little V's are still visible, but that line that we drew has disappeared. So yeah, that's why we don't. As you can see, that looks much better already. Let's come all the way back here. Try and ease it out into the main flat of the ceiling to try and lose that. It's still got a bend in it, but instead of it being right over there where you can see it, I've just pulled it out and just eased it all around. We had a little bit left over as well, so we took the time where old walls were, and it's all been pulled back on different levels, discrepancies, gaps in the plasterboard. That chase is filled. So yeah, done that with a little bit of stiff gear. We're going to have a cup of tea whilst this picks up, and then we're going to come back in and crack on with it. Okay, as we can see, there's that edge, and it looks now we've just got this ceiling on and one flattened. See, not remedied it so much. We've pulled the discrepancy back here. See how the toe of the trowel's been digging in here? There's still a bit of a bend in it, but I've moved it and spread it across a bigger area to try and disguise what's going on with this ceiling being all over the place. It's very, very thick there. What's allowed me to do it with nothing fancy is the 20-inch carbon steel trowel. That's all I've done, just flattening with that, no rules or anything, because I stuck with the smaller, with using the trowel so that I could bend it slightly. If I had a rule, then I'd be putting it on really, really thick. So yeah, there we go. So whilst we're at it, why don't we just have a quick look at the 20-inch trowel compared to a 16, both carbon steels. One thing to notice, other than the obvious difference in length, is the space you got here between the end of the shaft of the trowel. This one with the 20, it's much bigger, so it looks like it's a good twice the size. This one's much smaller. This makes the 16 by 5 really rigid, and both the trowels are really, really straight. There's hardly any curve in them whatsoever. Same as the 20. Hardly any curve, just at the very ends. Now, A lot of people say, you know, you can't put on with the whole 20. You know, what's the point, because your hawk's only 16 inches or 13 inches, what's the point of having a 20? Yeah, it's no point in loading a 20. You can do if you come up at an angle, but there's no point in it. And that's when using a 20, that's when you'll start getting problems with your elbow. You load up the middle of the trowel as if you would any size trowel, even a 13 or a 16. You get it on the wall, and then once it's on the wall, then you use the full length of the trowel to move it around, okay? And then with something like a really bendy ceiling like that, because I'm used to it now, I can get it, by putting it on, I can get it kind of pretty close just by putting on with it. And then when I come to flatten in, it takes less work to flatten in because I've got it round about where it needs to be in the first place. So that's why I use a 20 most of the time. I'm just used to it. If you are thinking about trying the carbon steels and switching from the stainless, then maybe a 16 is probably best for you. Okay, so there's that ceiling edge we was looking at earlier. Okay, it's much better. This is the bit that was particularly bad in question. I was told not to do these walls here, so as you can see, that is much more regulated across there. It looked like somebody had got a filler and filled all this. So I've just used a tiny little bit of plaster just to straighten it out and just blend it into this corner that was there. Mate is happy with that, but yeah, it certainly looks a lot better, that's for sure. So we're just starting these last few rules. I'm just taking the time to dub out the different levels and everything. You can see there's a big ridge there. That's what we had going on there in the triangle. And where this is all just filled across there. Just to get that going a few minutes before everything else. I'm dubbing it out slightly to make the first coat a lot better, a lot easier to get it flat. Okay, so we just put that on and turned back round and flattened it in once with the 20-inch carbon steel blade. See, it's still quite wet. Still very wet. You can see why that joint was, like, it's just under its own weight, it's slumping down, and there across the top you can see that it's slumping across this line here. That's where it was cut back. There was a big trough in it there. So there's not much we can do with this now. We can get on with something else and wait for this to pick up, and we'll come back and probably give that another flatten and see if we can get those slumps out where the plaster's picked up and is able to hold itself up a bit better. Okay, just having another look back at that first wall we put on, that we had all the belly in it. As we've gone around, I've flattened it in and went around the rest of the room with the same gear. I'll come back and flatten this in for the second time, and you can see it is definitely holding itself. Scuffed a little bit here where it's starting to dry out in the joint, the plasterboard joints are sucking the moisture out a bit, but that's fine for a first coat. And that top's a lot better as well. So yeah, I mean, it is quite a good idea if you have got the time on your hands, get that first coat really good and nice and flattened in, because it allows you to put a regulated top coat on. Going over a badly flattened first coat is one of the major reasons why you might be getting some like tiger stripes and things like that in your final coat when you're trying to trowel up. Okay, so now we've got the flatness done. It's all nice and flat and holding itself together. It's not smooth, it's flat. When we put the second coat on, that's when we're going to start looking at being a lot smoother. See this down here, like, it's hard to get the angle, but mate has told me not to come out to the same depth as the door frame there, which makes this internal quite tricky to get. But remember, you can have the architrave and it's sitting and coming across here to about here. So although I have come up and down with the toe and the trowel, because fortunately the trowel just fit in there really nice. And I was more concerned about the internal side, this side over here, because I knew the architrave was going to be catching it. But just at the end, look, there's nothing stopping you just coming in and just opening that trowel up. And try and get that internal nice and straight, because if you keep going up and down it, it's going to wobble on those ways. Keep going up and down, you're going to get these wobbles in it, okay? You need to come at the side, and we can leave a problem here because the architrave is going to cover it, okay? Okay, it's very similar to what we've got going on here, okay? This is a live socket, taped up so we don't get the electric shock. But yeah, same problem, the door frame is sticking out. That wouldn't be so much of an issue, but here, because we know the architrave is going to cover this area, when the gear's picking up, we can just open the tail of the trowel up. It's hard to watch through the camera and do it at the same time. Watch what I'm doing. I'm watching what I'm doing, I'm not watching what I'm filming now. Okay, so then we do have a little discrepancy, but it's under, again, the architrave. And then what this guy's probably going to do, because there's two ways of getting around this where he's left this so proud on both sides. It's a problem with the size of the wood that is used to build this wall. And then 12 and a half mil plasterboard on either side. So he's got the door frame, you couldn't get one small enough for it. The other door frames are a little bit too small for the CLS and the 2 sheets of plasterboard on either side, so it is a bit of a problem. But what this guy is probably going to do, he's going to get his architrave and fill. His architrave is going to fill and come over, and it's going to leave this little gap here, like that. Well, I'll get a bit of flush, it's not too bad, it's sticking out. It's going to leave that little gap. Now what he's probably going to do is run some painter's caulk up the back of that gap and have even chunkier architrave. There we go, look, these walls are filing up now. What I tend to do with my internals, this is that dodgy one, if you recall, with the frame sticking right out. What I tend to do, there's all sorts of different ways of getting your corners good, and it's well worth paying attention to your angles, your corners, because you can have the flattest wall in the world, or smoothest if you like, and if your angles are out or wobbly all over the place, it's going to look terrible. So it can really make the difference between a good and a bad wall, and it makes the painter's life a lot easier. So I normally get them in with the trowel as tight as I can. I don't use a corner trowel or anything like that. There's all sorts of tools, but it's whatever you prefer. And just with the inch brush, and see, and it just gives a nice, rounds it off slightly, but it just gives a nice average and really smartens those angles up. And if we come over here to where that socket was in there, that tricky little bit, So yeah, it's come out quite nice and flat. Let's come to Shay's little room that he's been doing. He's been doing pretty good. He's really been with me just under, working with me pretty much full time. Just under a couple of years now, we're just coming up to it. Yeah, and he's doing well. He's at a level now where I can quite happily just leave him alone to get on with his own bits and pieces. He knows what he's doing. The door frame needs cleaning off. That up there is a bit of residue from the tile adhesive, the silicone or whatever they've used. It's stained that up. Or we was told not to touch the ceiling in here. So yeah, he's done a pretty good job. Nice and tidy. Let's come right down to the floors. He's had that tricky door frame to deal with. It's got right into the corners. Look. Yeah, he's doing good. And if you was wondering, yeah, Shay is my son. He's the youngest of 3 boys, and there's a girl underneath there as well. So, yeah, he's doing really good. I'm quite proud of him. Just looking at the bottom of my wall here, I haven't been quite as delicate as Shay, but just as it's going off, it's nice to do for the chippy so we can get your skirting board as I get an old trowel. Just cut that bottom curl off. It's very difficult not to curl the bottoms out unless you brush them in and treat them like an internal like which Shay has in there. Just trims that bottom off, look at that. So all we've got to do now is just clean out the boxes for the electrician, get a nice tidy up going on, and we can get on our way. Alright guys, thanks for watching. That was quite a tough little job. Like I say, I wasn't feeling too great this morning. It was definitely down to the spicy chicken strippers that I ate and the cheesecake, and definitely had nothing to do with Irish whiskey. So yeah, I'll watch out for that cheesecake in the future. But yeah, tomorrow morning I'm off out of here, going to Cyprus. We're leaving at 5 in the morning, so I'm quite happy to get home, get a shower, and get into holiday mode, I guess, although we've still got to pack stuff and everything. So guys, thanks for watching. We've got loads of videos up already. We'll have some up again soon, I guess. So yeah, all the best, have a great weekend.